This is John Groves coming to you from my home studio. For today's Bible talk, I would like to bring out Jesus's first mentions of Samaritans according to our written Gospels. I would like to lead off with the tradition of how the mixed race Samaritans adopted their primitive version of Judaism. After the fall of Samaria, following a 3-year siege, according to 2 Kings, the king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria in place of the people of Israel. They took possession of Samaria and settled in its cities. According to this account in 2 Kings, these new arrivals did not know how to worship the God that lived in this area, and they suffered greatly as a result. The Assyrian king then deputized a priest from among the Samaritan captives to return to Bethel and instruct the people on the proper worship of the local deity. Our narrator then reports that the people developed mixed religious practices. On the one hand, they adopted the Samaritan religious practices, but on the other, held on to their earlier native practices. Again, this was written from the perspective of Judean religious leaders who may have been all too eager to look down on their neighbors to the north. By the time Jesus roamed this earth, Samaria, as well as Galilee and Judea, were simply Roman provinces where leaders were making every effort to keep the peace. For many of the Judeans, recalling too clearly their past glory, paying taxes to a foreign authority was an affront difficult to accept, even if it meant that they did not have to live in a war-torn country. Shortly after Jesus selected his disciples and began his public ministry, according to Matthew, he commanded his disciples as follows: "Go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near." In contrast, later in his ministry, Jesus sent his disciples ahead of him. As the writer of the Gospel of Luke tells it, on their way, they entered a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. But they did not receive him because his face was set toward Jerusalem. When his disciples, James and John, saw it, they said, "Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" But he turned and rebuked them. Then they went to another village. This is simply reminiscent of the animosity that developed between Jews and Samaritans in view of their history and cultural attitudes. Jerusalem, for the Samaritans, represented repression and disapproval, as far as they were concerned. We now come to what is perhaps Jesus's greatest parable, one that has come to define service to others beyond the call of duty, the parable of the Good Samaritan. For now, though, I would like to close posing the question of what it must be like to adapt to a new environment following some forced migration, say, and removed from all that is familiar and having to face new challenges not easily met. One form of adaptation, as our early Samaritan forebears experienced, was to adopt religious and cultural values that put them in the mainstream of their new environment. Until next time.